Hello, everyone. Today we're going to talk about the Manhattan Project, which is probably one of the um, historically most significant things that happened during World War II. That's my opinion, that is. So, let's start today's lesson. World War II rages on. As a reminder, World War II began in 1939. You have the Axis powers of Germany, Japan, and Italy. In December 1941, the US joined the United Kingdom as part of the Allied powers. The Axis powers wanted to expand their empires. For example, here's Germany in 1939, and then here's Germany in 1942. Here's Imperial Japan in 1939. Here's Imperial Japan in 1942. German physicists had been researching how to create even more powerful weapons before World War II even began. So, the US receives a warning. Albert Einstein, famous German physicist and refugee, and Enrico Fermi, Italian refugee and physicist. Einstein and Fermi learned German physicists could split a uranium atom. So what? Well, when an atom is split, a tremendous amount of energy is released. Enough energy to power a bomb. But building a bomb was not an easy task. Fermi and Einstein were living in the US. Fermi traveled to Washington, D.C. to share his concerns with President Franklin D. Roosevelt. Einstein, with the help of Hungarian physicist Leo Szilard, wrote a letter to President Roosevelt urging him to begin an atomic research program. President Roosevelt did not see the urgency but did agree to begin the process. On October 21st, 1939, the Advisory Committee on Uranium met in Washington, D.C. The process was very slow moving, but the United Kingdom was not wasting any time. United Kingdom physicists were making advancements in harnessing atomic power. Well, the US finally moves forward. UK Prime Minister Winston Churchill agreed to begin development of an atomic bomb on September 3rd, 1941. The US realized if the UK was moving forward, they needed to move forward too. So, December 1941, the US began its own project to investigate atomic weapons. Prior to this decision, the US had only investigated fission, or splitting of atoms. April 1942, Fermi began to design the world's first human built nuclear reactor called CP1 at the University of Chicago. Here's the site of CP1 under Stogg Field at University of Chicago. Leo Szilard is standing. June 1942, the Army Corps of Engineers took over since the intent became to build an atomic weapon. In August, it was named the Manhattan Engineer District. So begins the Manhattan Project. The Manhattan Engineer District became known as the Manhattan Project. On September 17th, 1942, Colonel Leslie Richard Groves was put in charge of the Manhattan Project. Colonel Groves reassigned the development of fissile materials from scientists to corporations like DuPont. On October 15th, 1942, Colonel Groves asked Dr. J. Oppenheimer to head Project Y. Project Y was a new central laboratory for weapon physics research and design, located at Los Alamos, New Mexico. The first nuclear chain reaction. On December 2nd, 1942, Fermi's group completed CP1, and the first self sustaining nuclear chain reaction was a success at the University of Chicago. Here's a sketch of the world's first nuclear reactor, CP1, underneath the grandstands at Stage Field, University of Chicago, and it actually still exists today. Recreation of the first self-sustaining nuclear chain reaction at CP1. Well, photographers were not allowed. This was the first step in creating an atomic bomb, but there was still much to accomplish. Research continues. 2 additional nuclear facilities were built at Oak Ridge, Tennessee, and Hanford, Washington. Here's the nuclear facility at Oak Ridge, and here's Groves and Oppenheimer. Weapon development, fissile materials production, and delivery preparations continued for the next 2 years. Secrecy was very well maintained. Even Harry Truman did not know the true purpose of the Manhattan Project until after he became president in April 1945. The Trinity Test. July 16th, 1945, Dr. Oppenheimer was ready to test the first atomic bomb at the Trinity site at Alamogordo, New Mexico. Here's a partially assembled gadget, the world's first atomic bomb. Here's preparation of gadget and the explosion of gadget. Here is the fireball, 0.016 of a second after detonation. And here's another picture of the Trinity test. So, the after effects. Windows in civilian homes were shattered up to 100 miles away. The government created a cover-up story so no one would know the truth. The recorded temperature at the center of the blast was 3 times hotter than the center of the sun. Here is the recorded fallout. And here are 2 men standing in the crater of this test site. The world had entered the nuclear age, and there's no going back. So, although scientists were happy they had been successful after years of exhausting work, they were also fearful of what the future would hold. President Truman said, "We discovered the most terrible bomb in the history of the world." Germany surrendered in World War II in May 1945. Japan was still fighting. Truman had a choice to make. A land invasion, most likely result in 1 million U.S. military casualties and would prolong the war, or drop the atomic bomb, which will save U.S. lives, but result in tens and thousands of Japanese casualties, but most likely to end the war quickly. So, this brings us to Hiroshima and Nagasaki. On August 6, 1945, an atomic bomb called Little Boy was dropped on Hiroshima, Japan. Little Boy was a 9,000-pound uranium bomb. The blast was equal to 15,000 tons of TNT. Over 135,000 civilians, including women and children, were killed instantaneously. Over 5 square miles of city were destroyed. On August 9th, 1945, an atomic bomb called Fat Boy was dropped on Nagasaki, Japan. Fat Boy was a 10,000-pound plutonium bomb. It was more powerful than Little Boy, but due to Nagasaki's valleys and mountains, it only destroyed 2.6 square miles. There were over 70,000 casualties. And here's a picture of Little Boy and Fat Man. So, total devastation. Here's the mushroom cloud over Hiroshima. And here's the mushroom cloud over Nagasaki. Here is Nagasaki. And this is Hiroshima. Some more pictures of Hiroshima. And more pictures. Japan surrenders. Emperor Hirohito realized the devastation that could be unleashed. On August 15th, 1945, Japan surrenders in World War II. World War II was over, but a new war was brewing. Klaus Fuchs, a German physicist who worked on the Manhattan Project, stole U.S. secrets of building an atomic bomb. Fuchs gave those secrets to the Soviet Union. The US was no longer the only country with the capability to build an atomic bomb. The emergence of superpowers and a Cold War would soon follow. That is all for this lesson. I will see everyone next lesson.